Hi guys, and welcome to today's reading. So today we're going to be doing messages from Spirit, okay? So these are just special messages that you need to know right now for whatever reason, okay? They can be about any topic, but when we look at each pile, we're going to get a message and it's going to apply to some kind of topic in your life, okay? Just wanted to go ahead and say any kind of news is going to be at the end of the video. We'll leave this timestamp for that, and anything you need to know about me is below. Alright guys, so if you want news, go ahead and watch that segment too. But we're going to go ahead and begin. Alright, so pile number 1 is a purple butterfly. Pile number 2 is a white butterfly. Pile number 3 is the pink butterfly. Pile number 4 is the green butterfly. Pile number 5 is the blue butterfly, and pile number 6 is the yellow butterfly. Alright guys, so if you need time to pick, go ahead and pause the video. Otherwise, we're going to start right now with pile number 1. Right. Just got to get some of these extra ones out of the way. Hi, those of you who picked pile number 1, the purple butterfly, here is your reading. Okay, so we have control issues. Alright, we have Linda Hand, we have Desert Passion, okay, and we have Joyous Fun. Okay, so right now, it looks like your message is mostly about how to kind of change your energy so that you can bring more abundance and more happiness into your life. Control issues. I mean, I know that that's kind of a loaded idea, you know. People like to talk about other people, especially with their issues, you know. I mean, we all have issues, okay? And control is everybody's issue, okay? Because seriously, the only constant thing in life is that things are changing constantly, right? And we have to adapt and constantly adapt to that change. And usually, change brings about some stress. Now, it can be positive stress or negative stress, but it's still something that we all have to, kind of manage in our lives. Control issues is just about feeling like you get to a point where maybe you've been stressed out for a little while to the point where there's maybe one area or all areas or whatever it is for you, and you just feel like, gosh, I just want this to stop right here. I just want it to be controllable. I just want this to be how I want it to be. And what this is saying is basically you can't control things that happen outside of you. You can't control other people, even those of you who are parents will know that you can't control other people, even if they're your kids. You can only guide them. You can't control other people. You can't control the unexpected things that will happen to you. Appliances is a thing for me. Like, I can't control my appliances. I don't know when one of them's going to just break for no reason. That kind of thing. So, we all have areas where we'd like to control things. I mean, it would be nice if, let's say we've been lied to a lot and we could just control them and say, hey, tell the truth, and that kind of thing. But this is just saying, remember that. Remember that sometimes when we forget that we can't control things, we want to take responsibility for things that we're not responsible for. Unfortunately, that brings a little bit of anxiety in there because you have to kind of surrender. You don't have to like it. You just have to surrender it as that's just the way things are, and I've got to figure out how to adapt to that, and then on the other hand, though, it should bring some relief to know that you don't have to necessarily try to micromanage everything in your life. There are some things that are very appropriate for you, and there's some things that maybe you don't really have control over. So there's just wisdom in knowing which is which, and that's all that's saying. Okay, so something that kind of goes from this is trusting that there's some kind of divine plan. And again, I'm not going to use specific words to describe, whatever it is that you call it. And, this is messages from spirit. It seems to be like a very neutral word there. But whatever you believe in, whatever, even if it's science, or even if it's just the laws of nature that we can observe from a scientific, perspective, and like, just trust that there is some kind of plan. There are cycles. There are times where things are supposed to happen and times where they're not supposed to happen, and all of that kind of stuff. There is some kind of plan for you. The best way that you can align with that plan, now this is coming from me, not necessarily from the cards, this is just my own thing that I've noticed when I get this kind of card, is that the best thing you can do if you don't know what your plan is, if you don't know what's coming for you, is to be yourself. Find ways that you can be more and more your authentic self, because the more you're in touch with who you are, the closer you're going to get to what you're supposed to do with what you are, okay? So kind of keep that in mind too, all right? And I think that this is kind of interesting because it also talks about like controlling yourself versus maybe the outside worlds, that kind of thing. This is talking about how, again, this is like your energy, okay? This is just bringing more joy into your life, okay? Because of the way this card is drawn, let me go ahead and hold that up for you so you can see it. It kind of gives the impression that maybe this would involve family, children, that kind of thing. But I think that the message is a little bit more than that. Whatever, this is a kind of an archetype of what's fun for people, some people, okay? Whatever it is that you find fun, do a little bit more of that, okay? And again, the more that you do those kinds of things, the less you're going to feel like controlling the things that you can't control. An example for me is reading. I read every night before I go to bed. It's like mandatory. And here's why. When I don't read before bed, or I have a couple of nights in a row where I just don't read, I am so much more cranky the next day. Yes, I get cranky. And I also just don't have as much energy. I don't know. It's like, and for me, reading's fun. For some people, it's tedious and awful, and but for me, it's fun. And so I need to have that time. I've just learned that I need to have that time. And reading is a perfect thing. It always makes me feel more healthy, okay? So find whatever your thing is. It could be writing. It could be playing music. It could be going out with your friends. It could be, taking your kids out, just whatever it is for you. Bring more fun and happiness into your life. If you don't know what to do and you're like, oh no, I don't know how to do this, is there like a comedian or a TV show or something like that makes you laugh? If it's something like that, then go ahead and start like watching that every so often. You probably could find some funny things on YouTube even. My show personally is The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. I don't know why, but Stephen Colbert is like the perfect funny person to me. If you don't like him, that's fine. I won't judge as long as you don't judge me. But yeah, I mean, if I got this card, I would be like, okay, I'm gonna start watching more Stephen Colbert. I'm gonna make sure I'm reading and that kind of stuff. And then we've got this interesting card that's kind of like doesn't seem to go with this, but it does. It's lend a hand, right? Okay. One thing that's really interesting about control issues is that we find that when we can't control our own lives, or when we have areas in our lives that have been kind of difficult for us to control, it can help us feel better about our own situation if we reach out to someone else. Ideally somebody that isn't involved in whatever control situation you have, if it's a person, and help them control their own lives, okay? In what it is because when you're in this place, you have this feeling like this need for taking action. You want to take action. You want to do something, right? And it can feel very uncomfortable knowing that maybe you could do something and change this, but you don't know what it is, or maybe it's out of your hands and that kind of stuff. If you can control something else, you'll get that impulse, that desire to control out of your system in a healthy way. And then that actually is beautiful because it opens up this situation to kind of evolve a little bit so it can get to a point where you can find some way to manage it better. Okay, guys? So that's your message from Spirit today. I hope you had a great reading. Thank you so much for watching. All right. Oh, goodness. I can't remember which order these are in. I think that pile number 2 is the white flower. Or white butterfly. So, hi. For those of you who picked the white butterfly, which I think is pile number 2, here's your reading. Okay, so we have clear quartz. Let yourself feel all your emotions. Okay, yeah. We have give more. We have rejuvenating rain. Clear the past, heal the present. Okay. And then we have victim mentality. This is a pretty robust reading. It's interesting. The first one was very simple. You might think, with just 4 cards it should be pretty simple, but this one's, got some different things in it. Sometimes when we go through the idea of scarcity consciousness, and the idea of that is that there's not enough of whatever it is, okay? In some examples real quick, not enough time, not enough money, not enough resources, not enough attention maybe from someone, that kind of stuff. It can help us if we give the resources that we do have in excess to someone else. That's what this is saying. This is saying, if you're feeling kind of like run down because you're not getting enough of something in your life, or at least you're feeling like you're not getting enough of something, you can help like kind of open up the channels. And this can be kind of looked at as a universal law. You can apply it to whatever religion you want, kind of reaping and sowing and that kind of thing. Is take whatever extra resources you have and give them, okay, to someone else who might need them. And it opens up the ability for you to receive. It's just this kind of idea that if you can make room for something new in your life, then something new tends to come in, okay? So this is a really good point to that, okay? We've got rejuvenating rain. Clear the past and heal the present. This is such a hard... I really like the pictures here. Just wanted to show you that. This is such a hard thing to I suppose, practice until you get it, right? And that is... There's something that probably happened to you in the past that is affecting the way that you relate to people now, okay? Typically it's interpersonal dynamics, okay? But it could be other things. It could be like, for example, maybe you were attacked by a dog and now you're afraid of dogs, that kind of thing, okay? What this is letting us know is that whatever issues that you're having in the present right now is a reflection of something that happened to you in the past. And they're saying, clear that up, figure out what that was, and handle that in some way so that you can heal the present. Okay, so you know what to do, but now it's like, well, great, how do I do that? I mean, come on, Cassie, right? Well, here's how I've found to do this, and it took me a while to figure this out, and this is just what works for me, and I hope that it helps you guys, okay? I've found through therapy myself that when I look at a situation that hurt me when I was younger, okay, maybe I was a child or maybe I was a teenager. I had a kind of a rough teenage life, I will look at it from that perspective of, this happened to me when I was a child. This happened to me when I was young, and I didn't have enough resources to know how to handle it. And instead of saying, oh, it's okay, it happened, or anything like that, because we know that that's not true. I don't feel okay that certain things happened to me that might have been avoided or whatever. Speak to you in the past and say, you know what, you had to deal with this, and I'm so sorry you had to deal with this. It really, it really sucks. It's just too bad, that you had to deal with this. But now I don't have to worry about this anymore because now I'm an adult and I can whatever, I can protect myself, for example, or now I know better, or I've learned from this, or I'm no longer in this circumstance, that kind of thing. That's how you heal the present, is, and you also heal the past, is by being aware that you're no longer that person who was hurt. Now you're a different person, and that different person has the tools that you didn't have before. Okay, hopefully that helps. And just know, and if it doesn't, there's so many different resources out there, a lot of it free, on how to heal past trauma. Okay, so you might want to look some of that stuff up, because it can be, you've got to practice doing it. Okay, and then this kind of ties into this victim mentality, but the way that I'm reading it, it's a little bit intuitive here. And really, don't worry about, like, maybe the whole negative associations that people have with saying the victim. For some reason, there's this new thing I've noticed in the past decade of people saying, oh, well, don't play the victim card or whatever. And it's like such a silly thing to say, because it's like, I think that everybody, has been victimized in some way, and it's like, why not? Everybody has it. This is a shared human experience, there's nothing wrong with being a victim, because then you turn into a survivor, right? And there's nothing wrong with necessarily playing the card, in that you're sharing with somebody else. Hey, this happened to me. Maybe that could help you, or whatever. Or if it's just being frustrated and being like, what, this happened to me, and I just want somebody to acknowledge it. So don't ever worry about that. But with victim mentality, it's more about feeling like, and this is an intuitive read of this card, feeling like you need somebody else to take care of you, all right? And it can be something very small. It could be something as simple as, I'm using this example because I see it a lot. Someone hasn't emailed you back, or messaged you back, texted you back, whatever, called you back, and you feel like you start feeling anxious. And because of that anxiety, you give that person power to control your anxiety, basically, right? And you're in this mentality of like, oh, they're hurting me somehow because they're not getting back to me. Okay, apply this to whatever situation or situations you find yourself in this situation with, and that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about victim mentality, and what this reading is referring to. It's referring to those times where you let other people take care of you, or you give them the power to take care of you. And the truth is, they don't have to do anything. That's on them. Yes, there are social graces. There are certain, I guess, laws of socializing, right, that everybody should, I guess, know. Maybe, I don't know. There's certain ways that we relate to different people, and certain dynamics and everything. And it's just an example, but in that example, it's like, okay, they're going to get back to me in their own time, or maybe they're not. But I'm not going to be anxious about that, because that's on them. That's not on me. That's on them. And if I want to feel better, and not like, this person's doing something to me, by not taking care of whatever need that you have, take care of that need somewhere else. Okay, so let's say your need is for attention, or your need is for recognition. Find somebody else to give you attention. Find somebody else to give you recognition. Maybe your need is just to feel like, that person's reliable. Sometimes we find that we can mirror things in order to get what we want. So become a more reliable person yourself, and then you'll see that other people treat you as in a more reliable way. There are so many different scenarios with this that can apply to you, and I don't want to get stuck in all these different examples, but just know that those are two ways that you can turn it around. Another way to turn it around with this victim mentality, and I just have to say intuitively I'm feeling like it's anxiety and pain, is to just learn how to self-soothe, learn how to manage your pain, okay? Because we get into a lot of situations that are painful, okay? Everybody has painful situations happen to them, And instead of taking that pain and soothing it, what ends up happening is it we end up suffering because of that, okay? Pain is a part of life. Suffering is not a part of life, okay? Suffering is about kind of being in this mentality where that person needs to get back to me. That person needs to take care of me, or that this situation is somehow unjust. So um, that's not the way it should be. That kind of thing. Um, we are able to take our power back when we're able to say, you know what, I'm going to control the things in my life, and I'm going to, even if it's as simple as taking 5 minutes to play a Sudoku puzzle, or maybe just do some deep breathing exercise, just whatever it is that for you helps calm you down. Just take some time to do some self-care, okay? Because that's what's going to get you out of this feeling, and it's going to help you feel more at ease with how other people or situations are treating you, whether it's quote unquote fair or not. All right, guys? And then we've got let yourself feel all your emotions. Something that kind of ties in with these two things here is that you can't heal an emotion if you're not willing to face it. Okay, and this can be very, very difficult for people who aren't used to expressing or acknowledging their emotions. Okay, so given my audience, and that I know I have a pretty good gist of who watches these videos, you guys are already super, super smart when it comes to your emotions. So this should not be difficult. But what this is telling you is just sometimes we might have thoughts about maybe an event or something that happened, and we'll be like, ooh, I don't want to think about that, or ooh, I don't want to, that kind of thing. Whenever you find yourself having a thought that you don't want to, that you want to turn away from and kind of maybe ignore or like push to the back of your head, instead, turn around and face it. And be like, okay, what are you telling me? Because whatever those thoughts are, whatever the emotion is, it's information. And it's going to tell you something about maybe something you need to heal. Maybe it's going to be something that's going to bring wisdom to you. But, a really good example is grief. And that's just one that I can give. When my dad died, it was very difficult for me to think about it. Oh, he died, and how he died, and all of that kind of stuff, but when it would come to my mind after maybe about a week of just giving into the grief, which I think was fine, I started really confronting my issues with these different aspects of what made my grief painful. And by letting myself feel all the feelings, even if they were like irrational feelings. Feelings aren't supposed to be rational, just so you know, but, like being angry at cancer, or being, mad that the doctor didn't do this one thing, or whatever it is, and I let myself feel all of these different things, I was able to I believe that I healed faster because of that. I can't really know, but I believe that. So that's what about like letting your feel all of your emotions is about. One thing that comes up a lot in private readings is that a lot of people are angry at the person that they care about, okay? And they can help have that not be a destructive force in their life by giving into their anger and letting them feel it without it affecting the other person. Like journaling about it, writing an email, but then don't send it, that kind of thing. Just vent. And then if there's something there that really does need to be addressed, address it in a way that you can reach a goal, okay? Make it all about reaching specific goals, being effective in the relationship, instead of just being expressive in the relationship, although both are important. But hopefully that helps. Very, very good reading. I like this because it's very practical, and a lot of people need this kind of advice anyway. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed it. Hi, those of you who picked the pink butterfly, here's your reading. Okay, I believe this is pile number 3. All right, so we have natural beauty and authenticity. Ooh, we have stop. We have navigating by the stars. Follow your own happiness, and then set the intention for peace. Okay, this makes sense. There's something that you've been doing in your life, just it could be in any area or multiple areas, that you just need to stop doing it. You know that you need to stop doing it. You know that there's something maybe destructive about it or something that's not healthy about it. It could, in very few of you guys, it might be something that other people need to stop doing, and it's about setting boundaries, okay? And figuring out how to... Setting boundaries isn't usually a difficult thing for people to do. It's enforcing them that's difficult to do sometimes. So you might want to do a Google search on enforcing boundaries, because even though I can speak on that, this is a reading. I'm not supposed to bring the psychology into it, at least not right now. So whatever it is, when you have it, there's this saying, like, if it feels bad, don't do it. If you have that feeling that, like, ooh, something's wrong here, this doesn't feel right, that kind of thing, stop. And, like, just in really taking some time, even if it's like an extra 2 or 3 seconds before you start again, will be enough for you to be like, okay, all right, I think that I've thought about this, and I still want to go ahead and keep doing it, or, oh, I'm glad that I thought about that, because now I'm going to step back for a while and really give it a day even, if it's one of those kind of immediate things. If it's like a chronic habit or something like that, it's going to, it takes a lot of effort to stop doing something that that you're in the habit of doing. So don't be too hard on yourself. Just know that something inside of you is telling you probably already that you just need to stop that. You need to cut that out of your life somehow, okay? And this is your stuff. This isn't about a person, okay? It might be about leaving a situation, but it's not about, like, a person. This is about you, okay? Follow your bliss, okay? This is all about navigating by the stars. I love the pictures in this deck. But I don't use this deck as often as I probably should. I just think that they're really pretty. It's the Sacred Traveler Oracle cards by Denise Lynn. Anyway, this is like, find a direction, okay? What do you want to accomplish? Find that direction and go with it, and follow the signs along the way. This would be like coincidences, synchronicities, that kind of thing, to kind of like give you a boost, knowing that you're on the right path, because you will experience those when you're on the right path, okay? If you don't know what it is, what will make you happy? And then go for it, because that's what you're supposed to be doing right now. Doing things that'll make you happy, not whatever is not bringing happiness to you, okay? I want to go through this card first before I get to this one. This is called Natural Beauty and Authenticity. I feel like I say this in almost, like, at least once in every reading group that I do for each video. So I apologize if you keep hearing the same thing over and over again. Maybe you just really need to hear it. But this is all about being truly yourself, okay? You can't be happy unless you're authentically happy, If you pretend to be somebody else, for example, the only thing that's going to make you happy is getting whatever you want that you're pretending to be and where to get, if that makes sense. But if you are your authentic self, not only are you aligning with what your own destiny, what you're supposed to do, but you also are aligning with what is going to make you happy, okay? I have a feeling that even the stop ties into this for some of you, and that there's something that you're doing that's not authentic, that you need to maybe reel back or change in order so that you can be naturally authentic for yourself. And this natural beauty, why is that thrown in here, I believe it's thrown in because when we are ourselves, when we are authentic to us, then we become more beautiful, because we really shine. Because just think about it. Each and every one of us is so special. We have our unique perspectives and our unique set of experiences that we can share with the world, learn from, that we can become skillful in, all of that kind of stuff. And the more authentic you are, the more beautiful that who you are and who you have become is. And that's the way to getting that lasting beauty, that people are drawn to you without you even understanding why. Maybe you don't feel like you're that attractive, but people will be drawn to that. They find that very beautiful, very charming, that kind of thing. And then this one, it kind of goes back to following your bliss, but it's a little bit different. This card is an intention card. Okay, it's just the way this particular deck works. Some of them are events, some of them are, there's different categories, but this is about setting a specific intention. I think in your life you've found that you kind of keep finding yourself in a place of chaos, or a place where you've got tension of opposites going on. Like, well, it's like, I don't know. I'm just giving an example, okay? This doesn't mean anything. It's just what came to mind. Well, I'm really in love with this person. I really love them, but I'm also having financial problems. But this person's also having financial problems, and I can afford to give them, maybe the financial problems you have is that you're short maybe $25 somewhere, and maybe you can be like, well, I can afford to give them like $10, and you do that out of love for that person, but then you're kind of selling yourself short. And then your own financial situation becomes even more difficult. This is about setting the intention that I'm going to come to peace with whatever chaos is going on like that. I'm going to come to peace with that tension of opposites where I'm being pulled in two directions. A lot of people, especially in love situations, will make a lot of sacrifices that they don't necessarily have to make, because they care about the person. And what ends up happening when we make those kinds of sacrifices is, one, we get more stuck in that relationship, because anything that we have worked hard for becomes more valuable to us. Okay, that's just a psychological fact, human nature. And then the other thing is that we end up developing this weird resentment for the other person, and then that will kind of come across that way. Now, the intention for peace, it doesn't necessarily have to be in a relationship. Obviously, it can be just being at peace with an event that happened, that kind of thing too. I feel like for most of you, it is going to be between you and a person, though. Okay, and so just set the intention that you're going to come to peace with whatever's going on. Finding peace is kind of difficult, and that's a whole different video, obviously, but just setting the intention that you want to find peace is enough to get you back on that path, okay, and in order to get you back to the point where you're feeling more settled. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed your message, and thank you for watching. Okay, pile number 4, those of you who picked the green butterfly, here is your reading. All right, so we have answered prayers, and this particular deck is geared more towards Christianity, but it doesn't mean that, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the Christian God or whatever that we're talking about. We're talking about answering, like when you've set an intention or when you've tried to manifest something, something's about to manifest for you, okay? Share your gifts, okay? We have choosing your path, all is possible, and then your assignment basically of becoming more conscious of what you're grateful for. This is about gratitude. This is a really great reading. It's very positive and uplifting for me when I'm like feeling the energy, especially in comparison to some of the readings that came before you guys. This is basically saying, get ready, something's going to happen, something really great's about to happen. Might not be right away, but I would say it's probably within the next, for most of you it's within the next month. For some of you it'll be more like 3 months, but you'll probably know which camp you're in because of the size of whatever it is that you're trying to manifest, okay? being grateful for what you have already is also is a part of helping manifest this, and is a part of understanding this whole situation. That's just, that's just one of those things. It's almost like a self-care thing, where if you just kind of take a moment, and I mean, you can do this before bed, it doesn't even have to be that long, to find 5 things that you're really grateful for in your life every day, that kind of thing. um, it's very uplifting. It can really help kind of get your consciousness to a place where you're just so thankful that your life is going so great, because that's what this is talking about. I love this. Choose your path. All is possible. Sometimes people get really hung up on the idea that there's one way forward for them. And for some people, it really is like that. I do have to say. For some people, they're here and they've got one really amazing skill and they're supposed to go for it, and that's kind of like their lesson, right? For you, you have options. Now, I've noticed that people who have more options tend to have a more difficult life, though, okay? So there's kind of like a trade-off there. But you have a lot of different options. I actually feel like instead of this saying, it says choose your own path, like there's only one, I would actually say this means choose more paths than just one, like you can do one thing, and then you can have a side thing going on, you can have another thing going on. And so for those of you who are kind of like trying to figure out, like, well, what am I supposed to do in whatever situation, no, you have multiple options to choose, and it might be better to, instead of doing this one thing, to do a few things, right? And then for another part of you guys, and I think in some of them it's just a dual message that both of these apply. It says all is possible. I feel like this, especially with with, you've got to be thankful, and that like some miraculous thing is going to happen, and that kind of thing. All is possible is just kind of trying to let you know something good's going to come. Okay, don't stop believing in what you have been working so hard to help come about. Maybe you feel like you've hit like a mountain, a big solid wall, and it's, instead of a mountain, it's really just a speed bump, instead of a wall, it's just a brick, that kind of thing. I feel like if you are in a place where you've been feeling a little down, understand that you have a lot more options than you think. Okay. And share your gifts. I think that this is interesting. It doesn't really, to me, go with the rest of this, but it's kind of like, oh, and by the way, maybe it's because you have a lot of skills. Whatever you're really gifted at, make sure that you make that a part of giving back to your community, your family, your friends, whatever. Find a way to give back of yourself for some skill that you have. Okay, it could be anything. We've got somebody cooking depicted. For me, like, I found a little extra time when I was a little bit younger. I don't do this anymore, unfortunately, but I found just an hour a day. I would go down to the nursing home that was down the street from where I used to live, and I would play the piano for their lunch break, okay? And it brought me a lot of joy. I love playing the piano. I was going to do it anyway, just in my free time, so I ended up giving back in that way. That's the kind of thing. I just wanted to give you an example so you understood. But yeah, I mean, this is pretty straightforward, very, very positive and uplifting. I really like this reading. I also really like this picture. It's pretty. All right, guys. Okay, hi, pile number 5, the blue butterfly. Here is your reading. Okay, so we have progress, not perfection. Oh, I love that one. Okay, speak with love. Okay, breaking trail, a breakthrough is at hand. And then we have loss, okay, and this is in events, okay? All right, so we have a little bit from everywhere. We don't have like kind of more of a uniting message. We have little messages here. Progress, not perfection. One of the best things that I've heard recently about this is, you might have heard it too, but just really take it to heart. don't compare your worst days to other people's best days. Okay, we'll find this when people use social media, for example, and I'm just going to use Facebook as an example. We don't post when we're having, a bad time. Okay, we don't post that. We don't post pictures of us like, oh gosh, I got a stomach bug this week, and just like check out all the different places that I just passed out, that kind of thing, just whatever it is. We post about the great things that happen because we want to share our joys with one another. And for some of us, we just want to look like we have a cooler life than we really do. It's all good and fun. Just know that's the way most people post too. So if you're looking at other people's posts and you're like, man, something great happens to this person every single day, gosh, understand that their life is not perfect. They're just posting what they want you guys to know. They want to appear like their life is they've got things under control. All of that. For you and for that person. It's important to know the only thing that's important is not to reach a perfection where you're like living the most ideal life possible. It's just to be a little bit better tomorrow than you are today. And just keep doing that every single day, maybe every single week. It might be a little bit easier to manage and that kind of thing, and you'll make some progress, and you'll see that if you look at it more like that, like what can I do to get ahead? If you look at it like that, then that quote-unquote perfection is no longer really the goal as much as it is just getting better. And when you do that, you end up bringing so much more joy to your life. Okay, guys? So that's what that's about. Breaking trail, I just want to kind of go with these with, we've got a breakthrough is at hand. Okay? This means that there's something that you're supposed to do that is about taking a risk. Now, understand taking a risk doesn't necessarily mean acting without any caution, okay? It doesn't necessarily mean putting yourself in danger, okay? But it's about taking a risk and doing something a little bit different. Now, for some of you, this is going to be an action, okay? This is going to be about an action that you're going to take, maybe in business, maybe with a hobby, maybe you've decided that you're going to go back to school or something like that. You're breaking a new trail in that way, right? And for some of you, this is going to just be a mental breakthrough, okay? You're going to somehow, some kind of infused knowledge, some kind of infused emotion, maybe, if that's the way you receive a lot of your information, is going to really break through, and you're going to get something that you've been, maybe you've been spending years trying to figure out. It's finally going to come together, and you're going to be like, oh, you're going to have that aha moment, and it's going to be great. I'd put this within the next, I would even say maybe, for some of you, 2 weeks, for all of you, within the next, I would say maybe like just over a month, you should have this breakthrough, okay? So it's coming quick. Okay, and then speaking with love, I'm not trying to avoid this one. It's just it kind of is in its own category here. Speaking with love, this is just about making certain that even when you're talking to somebody who you might not get along with very well, or maybe somebody who, I don't know. I did this when I was younger without even knowing what it was called, with a boss that I had when I was in my early 20s, waiting tables. One of the managers of this restaurant was just so high-strung, and I found that if I put love in my voice, and I was like, oh, is there anything you need, and I tried to convey, I just imagine love coming out of my mouth instead of necessarily words, so that she knew that it was okay, that I was going to try to make everything okay. It really changed. It's so crazy how much it changed my relationship with this boss. I mean, we ended up having such a great, she sent me like a present for when I got married for my wedding, and then she sent me a baby gift when I had my first child. We had a relationship that lasted way past after I worked there, and I really think fondly of her. I just think that she's a wonderful person, and you'll find that if you want to change the dynamics in a relationship, make sure you're putting love into your voice. Some people like to talk to themselves. I'm one of those people, okay? It can be kind of embarrassing because sometimes I forget I'm alone and somebody else is in the room and then they hear me talk to myself and they're just like, what are you talking about? And it'll be something like, oh, my baby cat, you're so pretty, you're so handsome, like that. And people just be like, what are you even doing? Or it'll be a song. Like that one happens the most. I'll burst out in song and be like, oh, there's a pretty cat, la 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 la. Oh, you're a pretty cat, meow 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 meow. Or whatever. Yeah, I'm being real with you, okay? Just so you know. But yeah, like when you're even talking to yourself, a lot of us have problems with that internal voice, Um, speak to yourself with love, be like, oh gosh, you might be like, man, I don't feel like I'm good enough. You might want to say to yourself, you know what, you might not feel that way, but you probably are. There's a lot of people that are doing this. You probably have everything it takes. You're just feeling down on yourself right now, that kind of thing. Speak to yourself with loving words as well. This is not just about improving your relationship with others. It's about also improving your relationship with yourself, okay? So, the event of loss, okay? I don't feel like this is in the future. I feel like this is a loss that you've experienced recently. Um, and it doesn't have to be as huge as like it doesn't even have to be negative, actually. It doesn't have to be as big as like an actual death, for example, um, or even a breakup. It can be just something that, it could be something literal like, oh man, I want to use my butterflies and I've lost my blue butterfly and I don't know where it is, so I'm going to have to use the hearts instead or whatever. It could be something that simple or it could be something a little bit more profound. But just know that if you haven't lost something recently, then it's like there's a cycle going on in your life where you're supposed to be remembering some of the things that you've lost so that you can either come to terms with that loss or so that you can be aware of the things that you have, okay? Um, this card talks to me about um, learning to treasure what you have in the now. It also talks to me about the idea that it's okay to lose something, okay? It's okay when we no longer have maybe a person in our lives anymore, or it's okay when maybe we've lost our job, maybe it's because we're supposed to get a new job that's even better, that kind of thing. Um, Loss is something that a lot of people, at least in the Western world, like to sweep under the rug. We don't want to talk about it. We don't want to talk about what we've lost, or we don't want to be a loser, or whatever. That's fine. Really, everybody goes through loss. Everybody has a situation where it's all like, oh, it's too bad that, it could be even like that feeling you get when you've binge watched a show and you're at the end of the show and you're like, well, I guess there's no more episodes, or when you've finished a book, you kind of grieve the loss of that. Um, we experience this in so many different ways. Just understand that it hurts because whatever we lost was important to us, and it helps us identify in the future what to treasure, okay? That when we find a really unique person, or when we find a TV show that we really love, or when we find like, oh man, I've got these new markers that I can use with my pick a card readings, for us to really value that. That's what that's talking about. So you've got a little bit of stuff here and there, but it's all very good. The loss, sometimes people can look at that and be like, ooh, well, that's kind of bad. I mean, who wants to lose something? But we people every day lose things, okay? This is just saying that there's going to be a cycle in your life, either now or coming up in the next week or two, where you're going to experience remembering a loss or dealing with a past loss. This is not something new, and just kind of giving you the heads up that that's the lesson there. It's not to hurt you. It's just to remind you of what you treasure. Okay. So yeah, you guys, good reading. Hope you liked it. Thank you so much for joining me for it. Hi, those of you who picked the yellow butterfly, pile number 6, here is your reading. So, we have ceremonies and celebrations. Okay. So, I feel like you have something to celebrate in your life. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be an event. It can be just, maybe you're just feeling, maybe you have more energy, or something like that. But you have something to celebrate in your life. We have be patient. Okay, we have wise leader. You're a beacon for others. And then we have letting go. This is about an energy. Okay, is there something that you're holding on to that you're having a hard time letting go of, that it just no longer serves you anymore? I'm being told, inner voice, whatever you want to call it, I'm being told to say that this is not like a relationship. This is more about letting go of some kind of maybe idea. It's just something that you know it's not helping you. You know it's not healthy. You know that it's affecting you in some way, in a negative way, and you just need to get rid of it. It's about knowing it's time to kind of take out the trash with this. It's time to kind of move on, that kind of thing. Sometimes we have a lot of anxiety about cutting something out of our life, and for example, something I see a lot is people who have committed to some kind of group thing, or some kind of it's maybe even some kind of charity, or some kind of, they've committed to give of themselves, and it's like they reach a point where they just don't have more to give, and it's difficult for them to let go of the idea of being maybe a charitable person, or the idea of being a part of a group, whatever that is. But it's like, that it's no longer serving you. That you maybe, it's like, oh, I made this pledge to donate this amount every month, but like I can't afford that now, that kind of thing, or whatever it is. I'm just using that example because it's common. Just understand that there are some things that we have to cut out, some things to make way for new things to come in. Okay, and while you're holding on to all these things, you're not making way for the new stuff to come in, the good stuff. All right. And maybe that's what you've got to celebrate, is whatever new thing you're going to be pulling in. Now, wise leader, I want to make sure that you understand that this isn't about people pleasing, okay? This isn't about being something for somebody else, okay? This isn't about needing to be a certain way so that other people get their needs met, okay? This is about you, okay? This is about who you are already. This isn't about exerting any extra energy, okay? Because when you are you are a beacon for other people. There's something about you that, because of your example, other people are inspired to be better in some way. Be aware of that. I kind of feel like this is just kind of a heads up. Maybe some people are watching you that you're not aware of, I do remember one time I was watching golf, because I'm one of those rare people who like golf, and I was watching it, and I said, this is, and I said a word that I probably shouldn't have said. I forgot. I was just into the game. Yes, I get into golf. And I was just so excited and upset and all of that I said that. And my partner, he comes over and he's like, our daughter would like to know what this means. And I was like, oh, it's cow poop, and I'm just trying to get out of it. And it's like, it kind of gives me that same feeling, like people are watching you. Know that they admire you, okay? And then this be patient. Sometimes, and patience, I'm horrible with patience. So whenever I say, okay, it's time to be patient, when I get that in a reading, I'm like, really? But being patient isn't necessarily about waiting. It's about knowing that there are certain times that are appropriate for things to happen, and certain times where it's a little premature. Okay, so if we turn that being patient into recognizing that there are times for different things to happen, and maybe something isn't quite ripe yet, then being patient becomes easy, because it's not about waiting. It's about knowing that it's just not the right time right now, and it becomes something that we can anticipate with happiness and joy, knowing that at some point in the future it's going to be the right time, and at least you're ready for it. So when I think about being patient, not only do I think about that divine timing, but I also think about being prepared, okay? So prepare for something new that you've been waiting to happen for forever. Like, prepare for that to happen, because it's gonna happen very soon. All right, guys? I hope you enjoyed your reading. Thank you so much for watching. Alrighty, so thank you for watching the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed your reading. If you did, you can, leave a comment, or, like and subscribe, just whatever, whatever you want to do to show me that this stuff is, applicable to you. I was really happy to see that a lot of people, at least the people who did comment, really appreciated that intuitive video that Turi posted, which is great. And for those of you who are like, who's Turi? Turi is Shannon. A lot of people who have been with me for a long time know that's Shannon. Here's the deal. That's his given name, and so I was referring to him as his given name this whole time, basically. But in private, I was calling him Turi because that's his nickname, and there's a whole story behind that. But like, Turi is what he prefers to go by, too. He's just kind of figured that out. And so that's why we're presenting him as Turi. But it's the same guy who's been, helping with the email, helping with the comments, helping with, organizing the channel, doing a whole lot of things in the background. I mean, for years he's been doing this. We both co-own MomentsAre, and I'm just really glad that you like that. There's going to be more of that to come. So, what to expect next? Tomorrow I'm going to post that Kawaii Tarot flip through. I had told you about how I got a new deck, and I'm just gonna go ahead and post that. It's not gonna be a big deal. I mean, if you wanna know what that deck looks like, then go ahead and look at it. Next week. So for me, my schedule is that on Tuesday and Thursday I'm gonna post a video. One of them is you ask the question. I really like that one because you get to ask the question, and then whatever I say is going to somehow be applicable to whatever you're asking the question about. It can be anything, all right? So I really like doing that one. It's fun. And then on Thursday, I'm going to do What's Next in Love. Here's something for you guys, though. I keep getting a whole lot of requests for more singles videos. I'm going to be doing this What's Next in Love for singles and couples, okay? So regardless of your situation, we're talking about what's happening next, okay? And then Turi is going to be putting out 2 videos next week. One of them is going to be a meditation, and the other one is he's going to do a little video for you guys about how to pick a card pile, because I don't know how many people have asked me that question, and he's got just great ideas on how to use your intuition to do that. And he's like an expert on developing intuition. He helps other people develop intuition, and he's very modest about it, but he's very, very good at it. So you'll want to watch that, especially if you liked his last video, because it'll help you a lot. Or if you just have that question, or you're just wondering, like, is there a thing that I'm supposed to do? That kind of thing. For the rest of the weekend, the merchandise, we've got a link in the description if you want to know what that is. You can still use the code SAVE, S-A-V-E, for that. That's going to expire on December 7th, and once that expires, we're going to go back to the 10% off code, and I'll put that in all of the videos after that. So we have a lot of stuff planned for you guys coming up, and we are reading all the comments. We are trying to work in some of the other requests for videos, okay? So keep that in mind. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for supporting me in whatever way you do. If it's just watching, that's great. I love it. And just know that I'm really, really thankful that I have such a large amount of viewers that really get something out of this. It helps me feel like I'm really making an impact on the world in the way that I hope to myself, It's always nice to know that. So really, thank you so much. And if you want to order a reading with me or Turi, that's in the description as well. All right, guys. See you later.